You're listening to the Superman Super Show episode number 36, Terror in the Truckers Union. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Ed, and 1,000 miles over there to my left is another host, Mr. Steeven Orr.
Hello.
So, Steeven, it's my understanding that perhaps you have a podcast recommendation we could banter about.
I do. This week's suggestion is it's another comic book podcast. It's something that it's something I just kind of stumbled across. It's called The Worst Comic Podcast Ever.
Ever. Okay. I didn't know about that one.
They're nearing 500 episodes at this point. And it's one of those things, I stumbled across this show and I'm like, why have I never heard of this show? They've obviously been around for years if they're up to almost 500 episodes at this point. But they're three guys and two of them are fairly local to me. They're out of Kansas City, which is about a 45-minute drive from where I am. I think all three were from Kansas City at one point, but one of them has since moved to Portland. And they do general comic talk. They have a deal with one of the local comic book stores where they get nice. the list of books that are coming out each week, and then they each pick their pick for the week. And then they tend to have like a main topic after that. So there's like general stuff and then a main topic. The episode I just listened to today, their main topic was the new Black Panther movie. Okay. But they have this is going to sound like hyperbole, but I'm going to say it anyway. They have the single greatest podcast theme song ever. It's just simply the greatest. They have taken the theme song to WKRP in Cincinnati and bent it to their will. So so instead of WKRP in Cincinnati, it's WCPE in Kansas City. It's a fun, very fun intro. And
there we go.
The first time I listened to it, I went, how have I not heard of this show before? Because it's right up my street. They're all our age. And they talk about a lot of stuff that we talk about too. And then they obviously dig WKRP in Cincinnati. But they don't have a big presence on Twitter that I've noticed. I've tweeted at them a couple of times and I've gotten a couple of responses, but they seem to be really nice guys. Worst comic podcast ever. Now that's not true. It's not the worst comic podcast ever. I've heard some pretty bad comic podcasts and this is not one of them. So that's a tongue-in-cheek title. It's a good show.
Cool beans. All right, guys, today we're looking at Terror in the Truckers Union, which is the fourth and final story to appear in Superman number 4. This was written for us by Jerry Siegel, penciled by Joe Shuster, inked by Paul Cassidy. Now, Superman number 4, as for the past 3 episodes, is the same as this episode. It's cover dated spring 1940. And it has an on-sale date, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, of February 15, 1940. So here in Terror in the Truckers Union is what happened. And this synopsis is also from Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Superman learns that Gus Snide, a racketeer, good name, is trying to force himself into the truck drivers' union. Snide's men have kidnapped the daughter of union leader Carlson. Not Fresh Prince Carlson. And actually, that was Carlton.
That was Carlton.
Now that I think about it. So, okay.
Mr. Carlson ties back to WKRP in Cincinnati.
There you go. It's not him either.
No.
Superman rescues the girl and then visits Snide's office. Superman pretends he wants to join Snide in a venture of profit. Not trusting the Man of Steel, Snide wants Superman to kill Carlson as a show of trust. Superman brings Carlson to the office and throws him out the window, earning Snide's trust. Carlson is then saved from death by Superman, who chases after the man. The racketeers then begin causing trouble before being arrested by the police. Superman releases them and appoints himself leader. Snide escapes with the money and reports the rest of the gang to the police. When they arrive, the gang is caught. Superman then chases after Snide and brings him to justice as well. Now, Steeven, that being said, which is not everything that really happens in the story, what did you think?
This is another, just like the last episode, this is another, and we hate to use the word pedestrian, but that's, in essence, it's not a big super criminal that he's going up against. Right. But this one was a lot more fun than the last one. This has, once you get past the what we call the splash panel, the title panel of this issue, the next 3 panels, so the first 3 story panels in this book are just some of the best comic book panels I've ever read. You have Clark in the offices of the Daily Planet in the first panel, and his boss is telling him that he has a tip that Clark may want to go down to the truck drivers union meeting tonight because he's got a tip that something exciting might happen. And so then the second panel is at the meeting. There's a guy up at the podium who's apparently giving a speech, but somebody in the crowd, they're in the foreground, the guy who's giving the speeches in the background. But the guy in the foreground stood up and he's going, "Shut up and get off that platform, Carlson. We don't like the way you run things." And Carlson is jumping off of the stage. "Oh, you don't, eh?" And then the third panel is Carlson just punching the guy in the face. And that was the exciting thing. I don't know how the editor of the Daily Planet knew that there was going to be a fight at the truckers union meeting, but I laughed out loud at that scene. Just the guy just immediately, I'm just picturing this regular guy in a suit and he's up there giving a speech. "We need to do this with our union." And somebody goes, "You suck." And he's like, just immediately off the stage and punches the guy in the mouth.
Yep. Runs up and smacks him.
Yeah, that's great. And the abduction of the little girl was pretty hardcore. Because if it wasn't for Superman, this guy was going to cut up her face.
Yep.
And this little girl, and we see her cowering in fear as the guy is approaching her with a freaking knife. I mean, that made me a little uncomfortable. I'll tell you the truth. That was about as hardcore as they've gotten in Superman so far. I mean, I knew there was some, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Superman's not going to let this happen. And yet there's still a little part of me going, oh my God, they're going to cut up a little girl's face in this comic book.
Maybe he won't get there in time.
Yeah, but he does. And I quite enjoyed this one. This one was a bit more fun than the last one, a bit more over the top. And I think it's the first time we've ever had Superman go undercover, quote, because he tells them that he wants to join their crime family, basically, and then takes over as the boss and all that. That was fun stuff.
But he does it in his Superman getup.
Yes, exactly.
He does it as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mention, I believe it was the third story in this issue of Superman, the one we just covered. There was a Superman hangy scene in that one.
Was there? I couldn't remember. I know that.
Yeah, there is one in this one.
Yeah.
I'm right here, panel 24. He's hanging. Now, this is a little different. He's hanging off to the side so he can look in the window rather than hanging on the window sill. This one, which is more like what you would expect. He's hanging off of something so that he can just look right in the window. And it's in this story. To talk to him, he taps on the window and gets him to come to the window and open it.
Yeah.
That's funny. I thought that was funny.
And this is the one I was talking about in the last episode where the thugs are telling the boss that somebody stopped them and that he was super strong. And the guy's like, "Oh, that must be Superman." And the guy's like, "Superman? Gosh, I thought he was a myth." So
all you bad guys have to have heard, because there's like a bad guys union. They have meetings every week and they talk and half of our crew went to prison because of Superman. Yeah, so word has got to be out.
Yeah, I mean, there's no internet back then, but come on, Metropolis may be the big city, but it's not that big of a city. You have somebody in red and blue with a cape who's doing the kind of feats that Superman can, who is destroying car factories in the city. Just all the stuff he has done within the city limits these guys must be from Gotham. That's all I can think of. They're from out of town. They don't believe Superman exists. They haven't come across him yet.
And I can say that my first year of graduate school, I even went to one of the bars where all these guys hang out and share information.
Yeah.
I will never forget that. Myself and my girlfriend at the time had passed this just little corner divey restaurant bar, I don't know how many times, and we were looking for a place to eat. So we're like, we haven't been in here. Let's try this. And we walked in, and you almost could not see to the other side because of the amount of cigarette and cigar smoke that was in there.
Oh, boy.
Every table was full. My recollection then is that it was predominantly males that were sitting there. And we stood there, and we were just momentarily flabbergasted. This was not what we were expecting. And in that brief instant, a gentleman off to my left who was sitting at a table stood up and came over to us and asked if he could help us.
Oh.
And looking around, I looked at him and I said, to be honest, we're supposed to meet one of our friends here. I said, and looking around, we don't see him. So we'll just head back outside and wait for him. And we just went right back out.
Oh, I was just looking for the exit. If you could just point that out to me.
Man, it was, and the more I look at that in retrospect, I'm like, there is nothing else that place could have been but just something not cool that we were 18, 19 years old. We were, we would have been early 20s because it was the first year of graduate school.
But still, you was young and full of beans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was not the clientele for that place, no.
But yeah, so basically what we're saying here is that the only way a criminal in Metropolis and especially a criminal involved in the mob and racketeering, the only way a criminal is not going to know who Superman is either A, they're not from Metropolis. They just got into town.
Right.
Or B, we would need to believe that Superman has only been active for a week. And if that's the case, he's done a lot of crap in that week.
Yeah. If that's the case, that's amazing. But, and plus too, everything that he has done essentially has been in Metropolis.
Yeah.
So over all of this time, every bad guy in Metropolis just about has had to have seen, if not been a part of something Superman has done. I mean, it's just, so when they turn up and they don't know Superman, I'm just like, what, dog, you got to get out. That's all there is. You got to get out.
And the moment where Superman throws Carlson out the window.
Wow.
I knew what he was doing, of course. But you almost are like, oh my gosh, how's Superman going to get out of this? They want him to kill this guy. What's he going to do? And, they hand him the gun. And of course, he crushes the gun in his hand. I'm not going to use a puny revolver. I'll kill him my way. And picks the guy up, throws him out the window with such force that Superman is still able to say a couple of things to the thugs, leap out the other window, and run outside and catch the guy before he hits the ground. So.
And when he sets the guy down, the guy has the appropriate response too. Takes a big old poke at him.
Takes a swing at him.
Yep. He's like, butthole.
Yeah, but
Superman didn't tell him he was going to do that.
Exactly.
Or anything.
This guy has no idea what's going on, and the narration of the when Superman jumps out the window, and they're like, at that very instant, Superman is racing forward in desperate haste, for Carlson is commencing to drop down toward Earth and a crushing death. And I'm sorry though. I know this is a comic book, but anytime we have a hero like this who just catches him down, unless he's just literally had started his downward arc, if he's falling and Superman catches him, the dude's back's broken at this point. That was always the thing I disliked about comics. Just literally catching someone feet from the ground doesn't stop them from being crushed.
No.
Your arms aren't made of pillows.
And not only that, but instantaneous deceleration, however it happened, is what would get him. It's the same thing as if he'd hit the ground. If all of a sudden he stops because Superman grabbed his leg, he'd rip his leg off, and the rest of the body would plummet to the ground.
His internal organs are still going to move, and they got nowhere else to go.
Yeah. Yep. Unless you are matching the speed and slowing both of you down, this just catching them thing isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And the quick way to do that, and don't ask me why this stuck, but in Earth's gravity, a body accelerates at 32 feet per second squared. Yikes. So that means every second the speed doubles. So he's going 32 feet a second, 64 feet a second, the next second, 128 feet, the third second, et cetera, et cetera. So you can actually calculate, if you know how far they fell, how fast they were going at the end. It's pretty
crazy.
Pretty instantaneous speed. But remember that. 32 feet per second squared, if you ever want to figure that out. Yeah. And I was not a physics major, but that one stuck. Let's see what else. Just some pretty normal bad guys trying to do stuff, Superman stopping them kind of stuff throughout this strip. Nothing super. I do like that they're trying to start different aspects of the food action in the city. They're trying to bring it to a halt. City starving. Strike must end is the Daily Planet headline. But in the next panel, the milkman whose truck they have stopped and they are restraining, says, but that milk was intended for hungry babies. And the tough says, sorry, that strike order goes.
Yeah.
Let them babies starve. And Superman, though, I can hardly bear to stand by and permit these outrages, but this will soon come to an end. And this is part of what I spoke about last episode, in that Superman is just getting so harsh. You know, I mean, first of all, he threw this guy out the window earlier in this strip without even telling him.
Yeah.
You know, and plus two, he didn't even tell him. He went to his house, snatched him up and brought him there.
Right.
He didn't tell him anything then either. And then when he was there, they're like, oh, okay, well, you brought him, now kill him. And so he threw him out the window to kill him, never told the dude. And, you know, so it's no wonder that when Superman finally got to the dude took a poke at him. And he's like, look, man, this ain't right.
Yeah. At the very least, Superman at some point could have said, look, I'm going to put you into some danger, but it's an act. You're never in any real danger. Just go with it, man.
Yeah, just go with it. Yeah. It'll be cool at the end. Just trust me. I won't let you get hurt. Okay. I do like that the bad guy that he replaced called the police and turned him in. He's like, oh man, I know who the leader is. It's like, because he just kicked you out.
Exactly. Yeah, that was great. That was a good turn. I like that.
Yep.
It's like Superman says, not only am I going to be a member of this organization, I'm just going to go ahead and be the leader. You're out, buddy. And the guy's like, all right, I'm going to go call the cops on you.
That's it.
Yeah. He not only calls the cops, he, of course, knows where all the incriminating evidence is in their office, and says, go in, you're going to find them there. The bad guys doing bad guy things, and the evidence that they're doing bad guy things is in that desk drawer.
That's it. He knew all about it. It was just him and money. That's all he took with him when he left.
And Superman does stay to be questioned, but as soon as he's done, as soon as he feels like he's done answering questions, he can't just leave. He's got to make a hole in the wall. He's got to run through the wall. He's got to cause damage.
Yep.
But my favorite Superman moment of this book is what comes next. And that's when he goes and he races down Snide, the bad guy. The guy's driving away in his car. He's got the money. So he got Superman arrested. He got all the other bad guys. They're going to be arrested. He's got the money. He's come out on top. But he sees Superman chasing him. And so he feels his only option is, if he can't have the money, nobody's going to have it. And he drives into the ocean, drives off a cliff into the ocean to kill himself. Superman dives into the ocean, swims under the car, is able to throw the car out of the ocean, again, from just in the middle of the water.
Right.
With no leverage of any kind.
In the middle of the water column,
He leaps up out of the ocean after the car. While the car is in midair, he lands on the car, rips the door off, grabs the dude and the money out of it, and then jumps
to
off
land.
The car. And then tosses the guy with the briefcase of money into the police headquarters through the window.
Yep. Here's Snide and the blackmail money. Yep. See to it that it's returned to its rightful owners.
And then that's it. Two panels next, done. Story's over.
That's it.
Yeah. And they don't do it every time, but some of my favorite panels in these books are when they do that last panel when Clark's reading his article.
His story, right?
Yeah. Clark's reading his story and they give kind of like the wink to the reader. It's a good thing that Superman was there. Wink, wink. You know?
Yep.
Funny stuff. Yeah. I enjoyed this one a lot more. I enjoyed the last one, but this one was just a level above. A lot more fun. A lot more crazy stuff. Superman acting a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Being just so much being Superman, not that we see today. Right. It just, you know.
Yeah.
And thinking about us saying that, you know, even the Superman that you're talking about from, 30 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't like that either.
No, not at all.
So
heck, even the Superman from Earth 2 that's in Crisis on Infinite Earths, who is supposed to be this Superman, he's nothing like that, you know? Nothing like that.
He grew up or he mellowed or he whatever you want. Now, he did get gray hair. We do know that.
He got great hair. That immediately adds wisdom. We know that, especially when you got the Reed Richards strips on the sides. Yeah. Look at all the wisdom there on your chin.
Yeah, that's what I'll call it. I need to take off some wisdom there. Yeah.
That's wisdom, buddy. Yeah. But yeah, fun show. Fun story.
Fun show? Absolutely.
Fun show, fun story. Funyuns.
I think that's all for me.
Okay, wrap it up.
Alrighty, we want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of the Superman Super Show. If you want to drop us a line, ask us a question, or just provide feedback in general, you can send an email to the supermansupershow@gmail.com. If you look real hard, you can also find us on Twitter, usually under the handle @SupsSuperShow, or come join the fun at the forum at forum.justanotherfanboy.com. Now, Twitter, you'll only be able to drop about, 250, 300 characters. At the forum, I don't know that there's a limit of how many characters you can use.
You got a novel over there.
So there you go. So, and plus, you know, there is the chance that the forums will be around longer than Twitter. I don't happen to believe that, but I'm we'll falling into the same pattern everyone else is. Oh, the Twitter's falling. The Twitter's falling. Whatever. It's not going anywhere. So, come over to the forums. We haven't had anybody new sign up in a while. So
if the character limit of Twitter is what's holding you back because you know there's just not enough room for you to talk about how utterly cool we are and how great our show is, that's what the forum is for.
And the forums are cool. You can drop pictures. You can drop YouTube links. And it's much easier to do those things than it is on Twitter, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it will work far more often than it will on Twitter also. So if those are the things that you're after, go to the forums.
Yes.
All the links for all of these different things will also be in the show notes. And I guess until next week, guys, I'm Ed, and that's Steeven. And this was the Superman Super Show. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.